Chapter 39. Leonie had watched the pedestal explode into thousands of finger-sized pieces, sending up a column of fire, so bright the memory of it still floated in her vision. It had sounded like the crumpling of Worcester's walls, long, unbearably loud. But after the fire and noise and light, the silence felt as though the world had forgotten how to breathe. Tal and Leonie stood at the edge of the clearing, watching green-black smoke set in above the crater that had been Stardavna. Leonie still held her sword, the weight of it comforting, though her knuckles were white from the obsessive hold. "Your Highness," Tal said, voice gentle, quiet. Leonie said nothing, only tilted her head a fraction. "Perhaps we should leave." Leave. Leonie's lips drew tight, her tongue moving against the back of her teeth. "This was our kingdom's only hope. We cannot leave without..." Her voice trailed off. "Without what? Answers? A weapon?" Leonie stepped back into the clearing, both her steps and her resolve wavering. Tal followed, the sound of her breathing both loud and comforting in this wasteland of death. She had gotten less than a handful of steps forward before the smell of sulfur began to burn her nose, and the back of her throat began to burn as well. She considered turning around, but where would she go? To her father? Even if she could make it back to Turris Regis alive, she could not show her face again without a way to save her kingdom. The smell of sulfur grew stronger, and she bent over as she began to heave. Tal grabbed her hand and shoved a dirty linen into it, which Leonie used to cover her mouth, breathing in the scent of earth and sweat. Leonie never stopped to consider whether or not she should go back into the clearing. These fumes could be noxious. There could be another explosion, or a new monstrosity could rise from these ashes. None of it mattered. She had come to this maker-forsaken stretch of a world for a reason, and this desolation was her last thread of hope. Without power to stand against the Yelmes, she had nothing to go back to. Morning light filled the clearing, sending rays of light through the smoky haze. On reflex, Leonie captured this image in her mind, stored for later when she could analyze it, paint it, except she doubted she would ever return to her mind's galleria again. She pushed the thought aside. That mattered little now. With the odds as they were, she would not live long enough for it to matter at all. Were there not Yelmes and Watchful by now? She swatted away thick green wisps of smoke with her sword, still holding the rag over her face. The crater marred the ground only a few paces away, the ground cracking and dropping off into a hole 6 or 7 feet deep. Charred vines crumbled beneath Leonie's boots like ash as she stepped closer, her eyes scanning the ground for any signs of the Ancient One. A small little flame of hope still burned inside of her, tempting her to believe she may find an artifact that would make all of this worth it. Perhaps there would be a scrap of paper with an incantation, a metal bracelet holding infinite power, anything that could be used against the Yelmes. But the body, the robes, all traces of Stardavna were gone, torn to bits with nothing left behind. "No," Leonie said, picking her way through chunks of charred wood and rock with the tip of her sword. "No, no, no." She'd been right. Stardavna had been real. There had been great power here, covered up by the Order and its machinations. But Leonie had failed to do anything more than watch the hope of her power slip from her fingers, gone in the flash of light and fire. "Milady," Leonie cried. Tears rolled down her cheeks, finding their way to the corners of her mouth, the salty wetness of them awakening her thirst and hunger. "We have lost." She slammed the tip of her sword into the piece of black wood, holding it up into the morning light. "This is all we have left of what we've come for." Tal looked from the wood to the princess and back again once more. Leonie screamed. She pushed every ounce of anger and violence and shame and fear into that one sound, forcing it out through her throat. Let the world hear Leonie Baudelaire, Princess of Trevellar, failure of the kingdom. Leonie lifted her sword and heaved it, sending it spinning out into the distance. She screamed again and again, but it was not enough. Her mind filled with images of Turris Regis aflame, smoke billowing into the streets, children crying and bloodied corpses strewn about for the crows to eat. The throne would be smashed, her father beheaded, her brother hung from the walls. The water in the harbor would run red, the ships would sink, the kingdom of Trevellar would fail because the only power which could have defeated the Elmes had shattered to pieces before her. Your Highness. Leonie looked up, her vision blurred by tears. What? Tall gestured to the ground a dozen paces away. There, 2 bodies lay black with soot and half covered in rubble. The woodsman and his mother. Leonie shook her head. Leave the dead. But he's not dead. Tall's voice rang with solemnity and reverence. That is not possible. Even as Leonie said it, the 2 of them walked toward the soot-covered forms. Orelda lay broken, her face contorted and still. She was dead, as surely as her son should have been. Should have been. Impossibly, Oli's chest rose and fell, small bits of debris shifting around on his tunic as he did. He did not look broken. Even the cuts all around his body had stopped flowing blood. He looked dirty and worn, but almost restful, as if he merely slept. He should be dead, Leonie said. He had been mere feet from the explosion, and he looked unburned. Tall shook her head, palms splayed outward. He had killed Stardavna, Trevellar's one hope, their greatest defense, and he killed her. Leonie bent down and grabbed Oli by the tunic, dragging him away from his dead mother. Breath came in short gasps for her now, her brow drenched in sweat. Where had the rag gone? The sulfur tempted her to gag again. Your Highness, he killed her, Leonie spat. He killed her, and now we will all die. Leonie dumped Oli back to the ground, a dozen paces away. He moaned, and the sound infuriated her. She pulled her dagger free and knelt beside him. Princess, you can't! Tal fell to her knees onto the other side of Oli, her face close enough to almost touch Leonie's. Who are you to tell me what I can't? The last word came out as a sneer. My lady, please. Oli destroyed the Ancient One. That shouldn't be possible. I know, Leonie said, the sound of her grinding teeth loud in her ears. Oli had killed Stardavna, an illiterate peasant, blew up the most powerful being in all of Lazarus. It scared her. But Princess, that makes him... Tal looked about as if trying to find her next word. The last link, the last connection to her and her power. If he could defeat the power of Stardavna, then maybe... Hope, fragile and timid, kindled inside of Leonie. Then maybe... What? Then maybe he could fight the Elmes too. Leonie dropped Oli and leaned back, her eyes looking the ranger up and down. Dried blood smeared her forehead and caked in loose strands of her hair. Who told you, milady? Who told you of the Ancient One? Who briefed you on our mission on Stardavna? Tal's eyes darted about. You were not discreet around myself, nor the captain. Thibault briefed you? Tal pursed her lips. No, Your Highness. I did not divulge the entirety of our mission to you, did I? No, Your Highness. Tal's voice became cold, distant. Perhaps I have not been overly cautious within the confines of the wood, but neither have I been exhaustive. Leonie stood, acutely aware of her sword somewhere in the distance. But you speak as if you know far more than you should. My lady, Leonie stepped forward as Tal stood, sending the ranger scrambling back. And you did not succumb to the call, did you? And you traveled the wood as safely as the woodsman, yes? Princess, Leonie stepped forward again. And you were wounded while standing guard over me, yes? And yet I was taken captive, and you are not dead. Rather curious. Tell's finger twitched near her dagger. Please, let me explain. And now you have stayed my hand. Leonie stepped forward again, speaking of power, of connections, of the Ancient One, as if you understand. Tall shifted her feet, moving one foot subtly forward. Leonie waved her hand away as if swatting a fly. Please, Ranger, if I wanted to fight, I would not have lectured you first. I would have slit your throat and been done with it. No, you are still my Ranger, and I'm still your princess. You will tell me everything, now. Tal licked her lips again, looking from Leonie to Ollie and back. Leonie narrowed her eyes. Everything. Tal relaxed some, then breathed in deep. I am Badawai. I can see that. Your father must have been Trevlarian, though. Yes, Your Highness, I am Trevlarian, Tal said. Citizenship ran through the father's blood. But though my father was of the kingdom, I never met him. I was raised dockside, beneath my mother's wing. In one of the Badawai communities? In one of the Badawai communes? I've heard of them. Illegal. A whore's daughter, Leonie thought. I was a teen when the order purged our community. The Badawai worshipped their god in small Yegja Jumin temples, set up in little homes in ethnic communities famously found dockside, often beneath brothels and gambling dens. The order's constant push to purge them proved a source of diplomatic pain for the crown. The Badawai Republic was open to alliance only under conditions of immunity from religious purges from the Order of Deos, and though her father needed that alliance, he would lose his crown if he made such a compromise. Politics and religion. Leonie puffed air through her nose. And what is this to me? I was raised on stories of the Jegsha Jumin. I made the word. It's actually very difficult to pronounce. I was raised on stories of the Jegsha Jumin, Your Highness, and they tell of the true histories of Larasarus, far more than what the priests of the order would dare utter. Leonie rubbed her temples. It felt both defeating and deeply ironic that a prostitute's daughter from the docks would know more about the secrets of the order than she had. The Jegsha Jumin is secretive in the extreme, no? We know how to hold our tongue, Your Highness. Leonie snorted, better than most priests, clearly. So you were telling me that in some dank dockside basement you were taught of Star Davna as a little girl? Tal's nostrils flared. Indeed, or some of it at least. We had scrolls, letters, really. Teachings snuck across the border in crates, barrels from the Republic. When the priests came, my mother sent me away. Tal looked away, eyes glazing over. With the letters? Leonie asked. Possession of those would have had Tal burning at the stake. They're gone now, burned. I would never have been able to hide them forever. But first I read them, over and over again, every night for months. And the Ancient One? It taught of a demon, caged beneath the shadow of the Navita. There were prophecies, talks of monsters and beasts, of men with fire for eyes, women giving birth to gods. I understood little of it. I was young. Leonie shook her head, stepping back over to Ollie. He groaned again. This does not tell me how you have stayed alive in the wood, how you have been unaffected. Tal swallowed. The letter spoke of rituals to ward off the powers of the demons. They are the rites of all Badawai children that we go through when we come of age. My mother would have led me through them if... Rites? Tal shook her head. Your Highness, please. There are things not meant for outsiders to know. Anger flared inside Leonie. Do you withdraw your pledge from the crown? I would lay my life down for the crown. Tal clenched her fists. But you already know enough to consider me a heretic. Do you truly need more? My life is already forfeit. Heresy means little to me now, Leonie said, voice going quiet. Fine. Keep your Jegsha Jumin for now. But you must swear that if need arises, you will tell me this right. Tall breathed out, nodding. It was not enough. Swear it, Leone said. Swear it on the grave of your mother and your God. Your Highness, Leone lifted the knife in her hand. If you hold allegiance to the crown, you will swear it now. Tall's hands shook, but she met Leone's eyes. I swear upon my mother's grave and upon my God. I will confide in you if the secret rites of the Zhegzhajumin should prove vital for the safety of the crown. Silence stretched out between the two women for a long time. Strangely, Leone felt as though she had just violated Tall, stolen something deep and sacred. But the feeling did her no good, and so she pushed it away. I shall do, for now. I suppose we have both shown ourselves heretics, Perhaps we shall hang together when this is done. She looked back toward Oli. What dear sacred texts say of him? I'm not sure. When he fought, he spoke in that language of his. You called him something before, when we were at the wall. Tall nodded. Yurumecha. It means namer, or even he who names the world. Once, long ago, people had the power to give names to all that is in Lorazarus. And in those names there was power. So the woodsman, Tall shook her head, if he could speak the names of these things, then that power would be older than even Star Davna. But I'm unsure, Your Highness. I still understand so little. Leone looked toward the crater and frowned. Magic has no rules. I hate it. Who could understand what has happened here? I feel like a child who's trying to understand how birds fly. I think it has rules, though perhaps only the maker understands them. Leone ran a hand through her hair. Well, rules or no, we have need to find out whether Oli Ricker can kill Yermes. He appears to be all we have left. Leone stood over the woodsman, hands on her hips. She still wanted to drive her knife into his heart. Yet Tall had given her a pinch of hope, just enough to stay her hand. She had to bring back a weapon for this war, and perhaps this man, this insolent and angry fool of a man, was all she had left. Fine, then, Leone said. Try to wake him. I want my sword. Leone stalked off in the direction she had thrown her blade. It was not hard to spot. It was the only thing that gleamed in the morning light. The blade was dulled and dirty, but she shoved it into her sheath anyways. It would be her armorer's problem to clean it, assuming her armorer was still alive. And then Oli screamed.